Alright guys, down here at the bottom left-hand corner of Shakuras Plateau, we have Fnatic.Nightend spawning as our red Protoss player. His opponent here in the top right-hand corner is Dignitas.Bischu. And, you know, the past couple of weeks, the way Fnatic had been playing, looked like old Nightend came in, he won a game or two, then they went a little back and forth, and then Rain comes in and kind of cleans up the mess. So we'll see if something different happens here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Fnatic lately has been throwing up Nightend as, I like to say, the scout, the player who first goes out there. Usually you want your scout to be someone who's well-rounded enough to be able to hand a Protoss, a Terran, or a Zerg, and you want him to be good enough not to die right away, because that motivation means so much. So Nightend has been doing a great job scouting for Fnatic so far. Out of the games I've seen in Team Arena, he's won the first or second game in a row, and he's really been able to establish a good setup for Fnatic. And then their secret weapon kind of waiting in the back, Rain. As soon as he gets up in there, it's GG. It's a good game.
Yeah, and excuse me, and I'm going to let people know, because I'm sure there's going to be a couple of people who ask in chat. Yes, for the Warcraft 3 legend, TOD did just sign with Fnatic, but it is my impression that when these games were played a couple of days ago, he had just literally signed with the team, so I don't think he's available for this week. So, who knows if, you know, Fnatic does well, maybe we'll see him in subsequent weeks, but yeah, I don't think he's going to be available for this set.
Yeah. I think he actually signed on right after the Team Arena games were played. I could be wrong, though. We're not that in tune. We're in tune, but we're not super in tune as to when the dates are and everything. But yeah, I think Fnatic, if they whoever they throw up, they're going to be a very big powerhouse here. They've already won against Rain. They've won against its Gosu, so they're on a 2-0 win streak already, which means they've got a $100 bounty or $200 bounty?
They've got a $200 bounty on them.
They've got a $200, even for beating Rain, who was...
Yes,
okay.
When they collected the bounty, they immediately had one placed on them. So Dignitas they're playing for $700 this week. Fnatic is playing for $500. So
yeah, but Fnatic's not just playing for $500; they're also playing to stay on. So it's a big amount of money, man.
Yeah, certainly. And looks like there's double gas coming down from both our players now. Bischu actually throwing that down a little bit after his opponent. So both these players inclining towards more defensive 4 gates, possibly 3-gate robo builds, something like that. But we're not going to see the super aggressive, all-out Zealot and Stalker push.
Yeah, well, Protoss versus Protoss is it's a very interesting game. I mean, we've had a lot of discussions about this, namely on Team Liquid and other various places as well, even in this office. We talk about, you know, this matchup really not having a defender's advantage because the mechanic of 4-gate is so offensively oriented that there really is no way to defend similar to a Protoss or excuse me, a Terran or a Zerg can. And on top of that, you know, a Protoss player, when they go for 4-gate, they can be so offensive that they really, it becomes a situation where it's so hard to know when to safely expand. Yeah, so this matchup really boils down to a 1-base versus 1-base situation, and if you decide to expand, it's kind of a gamble. I mean, sometimes it's going to work out for you, a lot of times it's not.
And Bischu going for 2-gate robo, I don't know if he's going to rush for Colossi or if he's going to play defensively behind a couple of Immortals for the time being. Another announcement to make for people, I know we promised Team Liquid a couple of weeks ago, but and they had some scheduling difficulties, but we are now confirmed Team Liquid will be playing the winner of this set next week.
That's huge.
So there you go.
Yeah, that's big news. I mean, they've got Sheth, they've got, who else do they have? They got Rhett, they've got some great
Hero,
players.
Hero, yeah, their last big pickup.
Yeah,
so,
I don't even think about their Korean player, Hero. I mean, it almost seems like every good team now has at least one Korean, like their secret weapon hiding in the back. Fnatic's got Rain, EG has... Darn, who am I forgetting right now?
Puma has Huck.
EG has Puma Huck. Rain has who else? Rain's got... Artist?
Rain Artist?
Yeah. So it's kind of cool. Every North American team now kind of has their little secret weapon in the back.
Nightend actually with a much later robo this time around. It looks like Bischu was just going after the 3-gate robo simply to get out an observer and start doing a little bit of Blink Stalker plays. The Twilight Council is coming down at the moment. There's already an observer out there, so he'll be able to navigate these cliffs from the low ground quite well. This is a little bit slower for Nightend, and indeed that is going to be used for Immortals. Pretty good counter to Blink Stalkers, especially if you can get about 2 Immortals out. You do put a pretty good stop to those Blink Stalkers. So we mentioned that we have Team Liquid next week, and I'm not going to give away anything quite yet, but we have an extremely big team coming in the week after that, potentially of the Korean variety.
Korean varieties are always the best varieties. IM, Startail, Slayers, any of those teams would just rock my world. By the way, guys, we do have Nightend here going for a Twilight Council, so that's kind of interesting because he opened up with the robotics facility, and he's going to get the Twilight Council down. So we'll just have to see where he opts to go with that. No doubt he's going to get Blink. He may try to get Dark Templar. I don't think that's going to be the route he chooses to go for. And Bischu is getting Blink for his own Stalkers right now as well. And, you know, Stalkers, they're not so great against Immortals, but once they have Blink upgraded, they can Blink up and snipe an Immortal. So that kind of balances out that little battle.
And we are going to have a blink-on-blink battle here. Now, Nightend, his blink is going to come significantly later. It's still about 90 seconds away. He is not going to have it for this initial engagement if Bischu decides to push into Nightend's base. But what Nightend will have is a superior all-around force and an Immortal in the mix, which is going to force the blink out of those units that much faster. Forward pylon now coming down for Bischu.
I love how each player here only has one sentry, and I think that sentry is going to be used just for Guardian Shield, not for Force Field, because one Force Field really doesn't do all that much, but, and especially when you consider there's Blink in play as well, Blink can bypass a Force Field so easily. However, a sentry with Guardian Shield can make a world of difference. It can reduce a Stalker's attack by so much more. I believe it's by 2, unless, does a Stalker attack twice? Does it
No,
attack count as twice?
It's
just one attack, right? Okay. You always see 2 lasers coming out, so you think it's like a double attack.
Big blink into the high ground here.
Oh, that's a big blink.
Yeah, and Bischu, he's going to pick off a couple of pylons right away. That does supply cap. Nightend, this is actually a bad position for Nightend to be in. His Immortal has not engaged yet. There's a blink up of him, but I don't know if he picked off any units even. And Bischu manages to supply block his opponent and pull his army way out of position, allowing him to move into the high ground here. He force fields the ramp. These units are going to have to blink onto the low ground. This Nexus is most likely going to be canceled.
Oh, no.
And Nightend is going to have to put on quite a defensive show here.
That was a very bold expand. I mean, yes, I understand in Shakuras Plateau, it's a map where you can expand on out of all the other maps in the map pool, but as I reiterate, Protoss versus Protoss, a map where anytime when you expand, it's such a risky gamble. And now, Nightend realizing, hey, his expansion didn't work, he might as well go for it again because now he's set so far back, but he's got to worry about this massive amount of Stalkers that's waiting in the front of his ramp, and how is he going to deal with this? His Gateway has actually lost all his shields. It could go down, and it looks like Nightend is just being pushed back into his base, and Bischu could take the first game against Fnatic Scout Nightend.
Yeah, we'll find out as that Gateway does go down. It actually offers a little bit more mobility for Nightend, which is actually kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, but he loses one of his major production facilities.
Certainly. He's got another one coming up now, though. That Immortal's actually pretty big difference between the two armies at the moment. Sentries do have enough for another Guardian Shield here in a bit, but Bischu's going to make his way up, and he has a lot of Stalkers.
Wow,
we'll see if he blinks up here in a bit. Yeah.
What a lovely blink right there by Bischu's scouting Stalker. Moves up the ramp just to check the scenario a little bit and then blink back. But Bischu could just hold the front ramp now, and now is a situation where I think, and I hesitate to say 100% certainty, but I think Bischu can expand safely. Protoss versus Protoss, you never know when you can, but yes, Bischu is going to go for the expansion. I think he's safe to do so, and now he can fall back and play a more conservative game with that slight edge, knowing that he has a Nexus coming up.
Nightend's actually going to make his way out. If he gets that third Immortal in, all of a sudden his army value looks a lot better than it was a second ago, because these Stalkers will fall very quickly. To that Immortal play. We do have charge coming up in Bischu, though, so he is going to transition and tech a little bit.
It's going to be interesting, Kat, to see if Nightend decides to expand here, if he's just going to go for all-out aggression. His expansion was shut down twice. Is he going to try to back up and play a conservative game, or is he going to go all out and try to end it right now? He's got to know he's worlds behind. He blinks and kills off a sentry, nearly killing off the Zealot as well, but he is going to expand, so wow, we may have a macro PvP here, the rarest of all the mirror matchups to see a macro game, and with that said, we'll probably see some Colossus come into play as well.
Yeah, certainly. I don't know if Nightend is really worlds behind right now. He's putting up his expansion. Yes, it's going to be later than his opponent. Yes, he had to cancel his a couple of times, but he's going to be ahead on RoboBay tech. He's he's going to be way ahead in getting up Colossi, which is going to neutralize a fair portion of those charge lots that are coming out of his opponent, and his worker count is actually higher than Bischu's at the moment, so he's not looking all that bad.
Interesting. I thought for sure Bischu would be a little bit more ahead than that. But, you know, his Nexus is up a little bit sooner. He's going to have a little more Chrono Boost energy. He's going to have that saturated income coming in for a longer time as well. And right now you guys can see he is producing those probes, double producing them at a time, whereas Nightend is just now getting that Nexus up, but he does have Colossus on the way, so maybe that edge that Bischu had isn't so big after all, and Nightend is going to blink in here, forcing all the forces to fall back from the front of Bischu's ramp, and he looks like he's going to trade off a gateway for a gateway. No, almost gets eye for an eye there.
Yeah, but he gets a couple of pylons, and that supply blocks his opponent at the same time. He's already transferred probes over to his natural, so his economy is looking just fine.
Colossus range on the way.
Both players even on supply, and as you mentioned, yes, indeed, Colossus range coming up in addition to one Colossi on the field.
A big difference in tech here. I mean, Nightend's going for the Colossus and the Colossus range, which is totally standard in PvP if you get to the 2-base late game situation, but we actually have Bischu going for Templar Archives here. Very interesting tech choice, and I don't know if Templars is the way to go against a Protoss player with Immortals and Colossus, but we'll just have to see which way Bischu swings this and if he can make it work.
Well, Charge Light Archon's pretty good, yo, and it offers a lot of versatility as you kind of move into the later part of the game. I don't know. I mean, it's really going to come down to who's massed the most units and who can get a favorable position on their engagement.
Here comes a Templar.
And here we are. There are 3 Immortals out, so we'll see if they decide to push their way in. No. However, I will say that Bischu going over to a largely unarmored class unit composition is going to nullify the effects of these Immortals pretty quickly. Looks like we're just waiting on the big engagement. Bischu runs up with a couple of Zealots. He reveals Charge Lot tech, though. There are now 2 Colossi on the field, and it looks like Nightend maybe thinking that now is the time.
You know, I really like how Nightend has a bunch of Zealots in his army mixture. I don't think he has Charge, but he has Zealots, which, you know, he will have Zealots to combat Bischu Zealots when they charge in. So you will have a light unit to combat the light unit composition of Bischu. Now Bischu is making Archons, and this is really interesting. We're going to be seeing a Charge Out Archon with Stalker comp versus the standard Immortal Colossus Stalkers comp from Nightend, and we'll just have to see which way this is going to swing.
It looks like supplies are still even for both our players. Worker count is pretty close as well, so this is mostly just an army at this point.
3 Colossi.
3 Colossi now, that's so good. That's going to be quite the deterrent. Nightend even hiding one up on the high ground here.
I don't
know
know
about
this.
Bischu's going to make his way in. One Archon was actually trapped at the back, so it hasn't done too much damage yet. The Zealots from Bischu are actually doing quite a bit of damage here on the right-hand side, but those Immortals were targeting nothing but Stalkers for a long period of time, and Bischu just got destroyed.
I really don't agree with Bischu engaging up that ramp. He knew he was facing against Colossus. Colossus loved the choke point right there. They were just lasering everything down. I think Bischu's strategy there was to pick off Colossus, which he's doing a decent job of right now, but there's still 1 Colossus alive, and with that, Bischu, GG's out of that game.